Alright, so looking at our fourth review, the first part, let me minimize this a little. First part says write the slope-intercept form of the equation of each line. I know yesterday we were reviewing the slope, and I know for slope I told you guys we need 2 points. I can use this point, and I can use this point. Right, I'm using the points right where those lines intersect. If you notice from this point to the other, first I will have to go down 5. So let me put -5 because it's going down. And then I have to go 2 to the right, so it's +2. So my slope is -5/2 to begin with. So the equation of the line in slope-intercept form, since it has a slope first, I'm going to write this as y equals -5/2x. So there's my slope, -5/2x. And then there's a plus or minus a number at the end. The number we're going to put at the end is the value on the y-axis where this line crosses through. Like I said, I'm following the line and see where it touches the y-axis, which is right here. The value of y there is +5. So at the end, I'm going to put +5. Once again, this number at the end is the value on the y-axis where my line crosses through. So that's where it intercepts. That's what it means cross through. So that's what we call it, slope-intercept form. Take a look at another example. Take a look at number 2. Let me get a slope to begin with. I'm going to use this point and this point. It seems like it's going down 2 and it's going 3 to the right. So my slope is -2/3. So I'm going to write this as y equals -2/3x. So there's my slope. Once again, don't forget to simplify the fraction if possible. And then my number at the end, once again, a plus something or minus something, is the value on the y-axis where my line crosses through. So I'm looking at this point right here. The value of the y is -1, so I'm going to put -1. All right, so on the review, we have 6 questions. On the test, for the final, we're going to have 4 of these. So there's 4 of these. Any questions? Right, so now let's take a look at number 7. So simplify each radical, round to the nearest whole number. All I'm going to do, I'm going to type it in the calculator. Radical 16, the square root of 16. When I type that in, I get 4. There's no decimal, so that's fine. Just 4. If there is a decimal, I'm going to round it to the nearest whole number. So if there's a decimal, round it to the nearest whole number. So now, let's take a look at question number 8. The square root of 123. When I type that in the calculator, I get 11.0. There's some more numbers after the 0. There's more, but since I'm rounding it to the whole number, I'm only going to look at the first decimal place, which is a 0, which is too small, so I'm going to call this just 11. If it was like 11.5, then I would have called it 12. And so again, I'm rounding to the nearest whole number, so I do take a look at the first decimal place to see if I round up or I ignore the number. So on the review, there's 6 of these. On the test, on the final test, there's 4 of these. There's 4. Any questions up until 12? 9? All right, looking at 9, I get the square root of 147. As a decimal, I get 12.1. So the 1 is too small, so I'm going to call this 12. Any other questions up until 12? All right, now looking at number 13. Find each missing length to the nearest tenth. So to the nearest tenth means 1 decimal place. So my answer should be 1 decimal place. So for this one, since it's a right triangle, I see the 90 degrees. I remember I introduced you guys to the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And I told you guys from the three, the biggest one is c. So in this case, the one we're missing is c, the biggest one. So the way I will write this thing up will be 5 squared plus 7 squared is equal to c squared. I know 5 squared, so 5 times 5, that's 25. 7 times 7 is 49. And this is equal to c squared. 25 plus 49, that's 74. So that means that c is the square root of 74. So I'm going to get a calculator, and I'm going to say, well, the square root of 74, hold on, I'm just waiting, this thing froze for a minute. So again, I had the c squared was 74, so that's why I said c is the square root of 74. So I'm just waiting on this thing, it just froze. Let's see. There we go. Alright, so c is the square root of 74. When I type that in, I get 8.60. My answer, since I'm going to the nearest 10th, it should be 1 decimal place. I'm going to call this 8.6. Once again, this case, I'm running it to the nearest 10th, so that means 1 decimal place. If we look at 14, I'm given c. Right? I'm given the bigger value. So the side that I'm missing, it's either a or b. It doesn't matter how we label it, so I'm going to label it a. So I have that a squared plus 5 squared is equal to 11 squared. So I have that a squared plus 25 is equal to 121. Since my numbers are not together, I'm going to move the 25 over here, change the sign to minus 25. So I have that a squared is equal to 96. That means that a is the square root of 96. When I type that in the calculator, I get 9.79. So since my 9, this one is big, I'm going to run this to 9.8. Once again, in this case, we have 1 decimal place. So you guys have, on the review from 13 through 18, on the final, there's 4 of these. Any questions on this part? Then, we move into number 19. Do the following lengths form a right triangle? Let me only do one of these. Do the following lengths form a right triangle? All I'm asking you guys is a squared plus b squared, is it equal to c squared? Like a yes or no type of question. We know c is the biggest, so c is 20. So the way I'm going to set this thing up will be 16 squared plus 12 squared is equal to 20 squared. Remember, it doesn't matter how I put the 16 and the 12, the order doesn't matter, as long as c, the big one, is by itself. So 16 squared, 16 times 16, I get 256. And I know what 12 squared is. So we have 256 plus 144 is equal to 400. Right, 12 times 12 gave me 144. 20 times 20 gave me 400. Then I'm going to simplify the left side. 256 plus 144 happens to be 400. So once again, my question to you at the end is 400 equal to 400? and then you guys will say yes. Once again, I'm giving you guys three values, and I'm asking you, is a squared plus b squared equal to c squared? There'll be some no's. Some yes, some no. So the reviews from 19 through 24, on the finals, 4 questions. Any questions on this point? Then we have a big section at the end, 25 through 42. First part, let me do 26 instead, because 25 is too simple. Let me do 26. When we have too many terms, I'm going to combine the like terms. And the like terms are those that have the same thing. So I see 2 of them have an m. I see 4m plus 6m. So when I combine them, I get 10m. I just added the m's, basically. Let me cross them out so I know I already used them. And then I have 5 plus 2. So I'm going to call that 7. I cannot combine these at the end because 10 has an m and 7 does not have an m. So that's it. 10m plus 7. So like I said, the first part, we're just combining like terms. That takes us up until number 30. But in number 31, we start with parentheses. All we do, we multiply the number on the outside to the terms on the inside. Negative 8 times x, I get negative 8x. Negative 8 times positive 7, that gives me negative 56. I cannot combine those because one term has an x, the other one does not. So that's all I get. So the first group, we combine like terms. The second group, we only multiply to get rid of parentheses. But then starting on number 37, you have both. Let me multiply the 10 to the inside to get rid of parentheses. So I'm going to have 60 minus 70n. So I multiply the 10 to the inside. And then after the parentheses, I see a minus 1. So the first thing I do, I get rid of parentheses. Then combine the like terms. Terms that have a letter, it's only this one. So only negative 70n. I'm going to copy it. I cross it out so I know I already used it. And then those terms that don't have a letter, I have 60 minus 1. So that's positive 59. And then I cannot do anything, so I just leave them alone. Like I said, from your review, the first part you only combine like terms. The second part only get rid of parentheses. The third part, get rid of parentheses and combine. So because there's many parts, so from question 25 through 42, on the final, you will have 12 of these. There's 12 of these. So once again, there were 3 things different. Now, any questions? Which one? 38? Oh, 28? All right, looking at number 28. Looking at those that have a letter, 2n minus 1n. 2 minus 1 is 1n. The 1 I choose to not write because it's just 1n. Let me cross those out. And then I have a negative 10. That's it. I'm just combining like terms. Any other questions? No question. All right, let me take all of the questions.